Welcome back, it's me, Lou. Today I'm here for a unboxing. Alright, so in addition to collecting action figures, I'm also into playing video games. I've been playing a lot more Nintendo Switch than usual, and I've been dabbling, going back and playing some of the older 2D fighters like Street Fighter, a lot of the old SNK Neo Geo fighting games, and I kind of find myself not being too very fond of using the Joy-Cons or even the Pro Controller. I was thinking about maybe getting a fight stick, but I don't know. Part of me was kind of like, I just wanted a little bit something smaller. And I've heard such great things about this 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus gamepad. I have an 8BitDo controller for my NES or my SNES Classic, and I love that thing. So I thought I'd jump on board and try out the SN30 Pro Plus for the Switch and see how that fares for playing my 2D fighters. I'm really looking forward to trying this out. You know, it's like I said, I love playing games like Street Fighter, King of Fighters, you know, older games like World Heroes and stuff like that. So I have high hopes and expectations for this. But this is not going to be a full review. I thought at the very least I'd at least unbox it so we could take a look at the contents together. So what we have here is the 8BitDo SN30 Pro Plus Bluetooth Gamepad. It's for the Nintendo Switch. It works on Windows, Android, Mac OS, and Steam. So the contents includes one Bluetooth gamepad, a USB cable, and a battery pack. Very simple, elegant box design. I can appreciate that. And on the back, we have the contact information for the company. And once again, there's a small list of the compatibility. So you have Switch, Mac OS, Windows, Steam, Android, and Raspberry Pi. So this controller, I opted for the black edition, just because my Nintendo Switch Pro controller is black, and I thought it'd just be nice to have, you know, the same color scheme on both of them. So let's open this up. Here's a hanging tab, and I love this. The package design is so clean. It's really elegant. It's really nice. You just remove this cardboard sleeve, and we're left with this box. Let's put this right here. Okay, 8BitDo Ultimate Software. Alright, so it looks like you can download additional software to like remap the buttons and adjust the sensitivity of the joysticks and the triggers and the vibration and give it macros and all cool sorts of stuff. And there's a small plastic overlay to protect the controller. And there's an additional plastic overlay on the buttons. Let's remove that. It's a protective covering. Wow, this feels really nice. Instruction manual. Yeah, so they list all the different instructions here for how you go like properly pair it with the, you know, what kind of system you're using. So if you want to pair it with the Switch, here are the instructions. If you want to give directional pad input for the Android OS, there's instructions for that. The input information for like syncing it with Windows and Mac. There's also turbo functionality. And talks about the battery, the LED indicators. It talks about power saving. So 1 minute with no Bluetooth connection, it'll power off. 15 minutes with Bluetooth connection but no use, it'll shut down. And additional instructions in various languages. Here's our USB cable. It looks like it's a USB-C, I believe, to the standard USB. All right, I gotta hold on to that because I'm gonna charge the controller in a little bit. If there's anything else in here. So I think that might be it. I don't think there's anything underneath this. Right, I believe not. Let's see if they give us a battery. And there's an 8BitDo rechargeable battery here. I read online, I believe that if you don't use the battery pack, you can even use AA batteries. Okay, so the controller feels nice, very quality build. So the main part of the controller, this shape here, is very akin to the old SNES controllers from back in the day. The face buttons are kind of arranged in the same way. You have two shoulder buttons up here, two trigger buttons. I believe this is the sync button, and there's the USB input. You have the select and start. It's laid out much like the old SNES controllers. You have the, what are those buttons called on the, I think it's like on here it's a star button, and there's this other button here, but I believe if you're using a Switch, one of these is the home button, and the other one's I think the capture button. The D-pad feels really nice. Now for me, this is the reason why I really wanted this controller. Because for my 2D fighters like Street Fighter, I wanted it to feel kind of like, I'm playing on the old SNES, and I wanted the D-pad and the buttons to be laid out like how I physically remember them being. Like over here is actually a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. It felt awkward for me to do the D-pad down here and move, have the face buttons up here. It didn't feel as natural to me, and I could adjust to it, but I prefer to use a D-pad in my fighters as opposed to using the analog stick. I could play with the analog stick, but I like the D-pad more, but I just didn't like the reach down here. But for this, I like the reach here, and it feels much more natural for me. The build quality of this is really nice. It's a nice textured black plastic. There's some weight to it. I believe this might have vibration, force feedback in these handles. The handles are nice because especially if you're gaming for a long time, it gives your palm somewhere to rest and hold on to this. Because 8BitDo, they do make controllers that don't have these larger handles, but the thing is, the controllers feel smaller, and I think your hands are more prone to cramp, or it doesn't, after a while of prolonged use, it's gonna feel kind of a little bit more awkward. But with this, it's nice to have these handles. It's very ergonomic, and it just feels really natural. It's a good fit. So yeah, I'm enjoying everything about this so far. The build quality is nice. The plastic quality is nice. The buttons feel nice and solid. They're easy to reach. The D-pad feels exceptional. The analogs, they feel like your standard fare. I would have appreciated it if the buttons here, if the little letters to identify them were like a little bit bolder, because in all honesty, I get confused sometimes, because when you're swapping between playing PlayStation, playing Xbox, and playing Switch, for me it's always hard to remember which button's which. Like for me, I always remember that B and A are always standard here, but then the Y and X are different than the Y and X on the Xbox controller, so that always kind of throws me off. But these buttons feel nice. The home button and the star button, it seems like they're placed in ideal locations. I don't think you're necessarily going to slip and accidentally press them. So yeah, this feels really good. Really looking forward to trying this out. And here's a side-by-side comparison with a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I like this controller a lot. Like for me, I prefer to play with the Pro controller versus using the Joy-Cons. I don't mind the Joy-Cons, they're all right, but this feels a little bit more natural to me, especially like, playing so much Xbox or PlayStation. To gravitate to this controller, it's not as it's not as reaching or as alien as playing with the Joy-Cons. Like if I strictly just played Nintendo Switch, I'd be fine with the Joy-Cons, but for me, when you're playing across different platforms, you kind of want a more consistent feel across the board, or at least that's what I want. So that's why I kind of opted with using the Pro controller. And I love this controller. It's a really nice, solid build. It's very quality. But like I said, for 2D fighters, I played around with this, and it doesn't feel as natural for me to use the D-pad down here. And I really wanted to give this a shot to see how this is. Already, I'm liking this D-pad. It feels slightly larger. I like the location of it. So yeah, it's going to be, you got to check this out. And the nice thing with this controller too is that, in addition to being able to use it for my Nintendo Switch, if I wanted to like play PC games with it, I could. And I think you could also use this for the Xbox and PlayStation, but you need an additional 8BitDo adapter, which I do have. So yeah. Well, like I said, this is more of just an unboxing video. I don't necessarily have all the equipment to like, do an actual review. I'm not one of those people that could like track the button lag and all that kind of crazy stuff. But I thought at the very least, I'd at least unbox this. So if you're a gamer like me and you've been curious about this controller, at least you can see like, get my impressions of the build quality and, judge for yourself on this. It's nice. It feels like a quality controller. It's not like one of those weird knockoff controllers where it feels super light or made of like cheap plastic. This actually feels somewhat durable. It has some nice weight to it. So far, all the buttons have a nice feel to them. They feel responsive. The click, the D-pad feels awesome. I love the texture on the plastic. The matte black finish is nice. And, I think it'll accompany this controller well. So wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. And until the next one, take care.